Okay, so I'm originally from Poland. I decided to be a lawyer in New York. I spent 10 years in New York and decided to go to the West Coast. I've never regretted it, and I want to encourage everybody here to go to California. So that's my call to action for you guys. And my big interest is bringing smart people to the US and doing deals. Okay, I have two ideas for you, and two ideas that have been driving me. One comes from Oliver Samwer. You don't need to be a techie to build an internet company. So that means if you're not a technical co-founder, there are huge opportunities for you in Silicon Valley and especially in the tech world. And remember, Oliver Samwer was one of the guys who got kicked out of the valley because he was a loser, and now he's building huge companies in Berlin. Now, my friend Steve Jobs. Technology alone is not enough. You need liberal arts and you need humanities to build large companies. So these are two ideas for what else is in the valley and what else you can build. Does anybody know what this is? What city? Anybody? Who? Florence, yes, it's Renaissance Florence, the capital of ideas, the capital of smart people, and the capital of the Renaissance. And this place was incredible. It rocked. And believe it or not, Silicon Valley and San Francisco is the new Florence. There's a need for smart people with liberal arts education who are non-technical because there's a lack of ideas. So this is Silicon Valley today. Huge tech companies and also in need of ideas, in need of capital, and in need of people. And all of these companies are huge conglomerates that are very slow and are waiting also for disruption while they disrupt the world. And that's an opportunity for you. Okay, so Silicon Valley needs non-technical people. And remember, Steve Jobs was non-technical. He was an expert in calligraphy. Why does Silicon Valley want to build non-technical ideas and people? Any idea? I guess not. So, big money is trapped in non-tech assets, and also they need fresh ideas and talent. Think about Airbnb, think about Uber, think about lawyers. I'm a lawyer, and I know there's a lot of value trapped in the legal business, just waiting to be disrupted, but don't disrupt my business. Okay, so also, non-tech trends are born in San Francisco and in the Valley. Think of the beatniks. Think about the hippies. Think also about Ronald Reagan and how he, disrupted the political business. Everybody thought he was a B actor from California. So, Silicon Valley. The third trend, software is eating up the world. There's more and more traditional businesses being disrupted. And that's Mark Andreessen. I'm going to mention him later down the road. So this is the synthesis of the three ideas I told you about. So build the future with big ideas fueled by technology. So right now, Silicon Valley is looking for non-tech opportunities. Things that I believe are waiting for disruption that are non-technical is education, fashion, food, and art. Education. So the big trends. Old ed companies are not growing. They're actually dying. And this includes educational companies that provide education materials, and it's also universities. There is not enough transparency and data for education. The third trend, again, is learn to code. The girls before me talked about that. And education should have a good UX and an extra important social experience. It's not just going into a class. Finally, video only sucks. It's not enough just to do a witty video. You need project-based learning. You need real-time interaction and mobile. Everything has to be mobile. We spend so much time on our phones. We eat breakfast with our phones on. We do dinner. We meet people with our phones. So education also has to be mobile. Okay, so Silicon Valley educational players. Of course, everybody knows Stanford. There's Singularity University, which is a private university funded by Google. There's GSV Capital. There's Lubin from GSV Capital. They invest only in EdTech. They're in General Assembly. They're in Coursera. So Khan Academy. Who've heard of Khan Academy? Okay, I see people. So all of these companies are in Silicon Valley. And I want to mention Lynda. They were just acquired by LinkedIn for $1.5 billion. That's a lot of money just for education. I also want to mention Uniwersytet Dzieci. It's a company run by Agata Wilam, and they're doing things here in Poland, testing them, and then they're trying to build a big business in California. I also want to mention Platzi, which is a YC company, which is very, very interesting, and I'll tell you why at the very end for personal reasons. And then you have Udacity, you have Udemy, and you have Coursera. Okay, fashion. As you can see, California has a really bad taste in fashion, and especially San Francisco. But that's changing for a couple of reasons. The fashion business has not been disturbed, and there's huge margins in fashion. So a couple of fashion business trends. Consumer is king, choice, seamless experience. Small and cool brands are better than big ones. Gap is suffering right now. All of the big companies are suffering. And again, technology is a key component of fashion. Fashion people cannot do business without technology. And personalization, mobile again, interactivity, business efficiencies that are created by tech and data are key components of a good fashion business in the future. So, believe it or not, there are fashion players in San Francisco. I do want to mention Forerunner VC. This is the top e-commerce VC in the world. They're an early investor in Warby Parker. Stelladot, interesting company. Everlane, Bonobos, Kuyana, Chubbies, which do swimming shorts. I also want to give a big shout out to my friend Kamila Dmowska, who's Polish, and she's building her fashion company in San Francisco, and she got funded and is doing exciting stuff. I also want to mention Gap. They revolutionized fashion, and they were based in San Francisco. Now they're suffering because they didn't get on the technological bandwagon. Nike is also involved in a lot of agile startup-related things. They're in Portland. And of course, you have Levi's, which is also San Francisco, and they're also suffering because they didn't get into digital. And also Pinterest. Pinterest is not a fashion brand, but it's important in terms of trends because it's a distribution platform for fashion. Okay, food. Everybody eats food. And San Francisco, if you go to San Francisco, you'll discover why food is like so important for people there. Food trends. No one has time to cook, or they don't want to cook. Because of IoT and Internet of Things, there's a lot of gadgets and kitchen appliances that have sensors. Sensors lead to data. Data is a big trend, even in food. Then the big one is different types of food delivery mechanisms. Finally, the big tech food trend is social. Restaurants and marketplaces are building social places where people can gather, exchange data, and also food has become about values in California. So remember what I told you. California is the place where trends are born, and these trends go to the East Coast, and then they come here to Europe. Interesting enough, since 2013, there have been 26 accelerators for food and 26 accelerators and food funds. So investors that are looking to invest in food technology and food startups. Okay. San Francisco food players. Has anybody heard of Instacart? So Instacart is a delivery startup for groceries. Their Weekly growth rate is 20%. That's spectacular. Your VC investor wants 20% growth rate per month. This is per week. Then you have Postmates, a startup that also is in the food delivery business. They've been in business since 2012, and their growth rate has been 10x per year. That's unbelievable. Then you have Yelp in San Francisco, big data aggregator of food information, how you eat, what you think about restaurants. Get Foodcated is a startup that teaches people about food. There's a lot of people who have no clue what they're eating. Six Sensor Labs, they're a startup that raised some impressive money to do a gluten-free sensor. Mark One, another sensor company for cups. Okay, Whole Foods. They're not in San Francisco, believe it or not. They're based in Texas, but they're awesome in terms of food innovation, food experience, UX. They're experimenting with Instagram. They're experimenting with digitalization and social. Okay, art world. So San Francisco is not only about geeks and techies running the show, it's also about art, believe it or not. So Silicon Valley art trends. Art sets the tech trends. Remember, Steve Jobs was an artist first. Then he was a business person. So the art trends that happen in San Francisco lead to technology. And Instagram, Instagram, and Instagram. Instagram has revolutionized digital photography, and it's about to revolutionize the art business. Instagram is a way to connect between artists and collectors. So there's going to be a lot of Instagram-related, in my opinion, Instagram-related stuff going on. Believe it or not, Silicon Valley is also investing in art. So we go back to my metaphor about Silicon Valley being the Renaissance Florence. And my favorite quote comes from a gallery owner from New York City who says, "Art comes between buying the Ferrari and getting the kids into college." So if you're a struggling artist or you're a successful artist, you should think about Silicon Valley as a potential marketplace. There's also some bad news for artists in San Francisco. They're being kicked out of San Francisco because prices of real estate are going through the roof, which is good for all of the tech modules and people like that. And there's a lot of new startups around art. So, Silicon Valley art players. Remember Mark Andreessen? Mark Andreessen, one of the first things he did when he started his VC fund, he bought art to look respectable. Marissa Mayer, the CEO of Yahoo, is a big art collector. Alison Pincus, the wife of the CEO of Zynga, and most important, the wife of Larry Page, who's the CEO, the founder of Google, is investing in art. Art residency. Believe it or not, Facebook has an art residency program, and they take artists from all over the world, they put them in Facebook headquarters, and they just paint for Mark Zuckerberg. So Mark Zuckerberg is literally playing the role of, Lorenzo de Medici. He wants to have paintings. He's interested in art. And then there's this interesting startup which I met. It's called Van Gogh. You should Google them. And they're building a new marketplace for collectors and artists. And it looks like they're going to disrupt the art market. So why not the East Coast? And as a person who lived on the East Coast for 10 years, I'll tell you why. This is the secret. Silicon Valley is the place where you can pilot, test, and build companies that are non-technical, and you can do it. The East Coast is a place where you can distribute and market your business and your ideas. A lot of people from Eastern Europe, for some reason, go to New York, me being an example, and they hit a wall because it's so hard to get into East Coast world. San Francisco is especially open to new ideas, new ventures, and especially non-technical things. So go to the West Coast first. Okay, Silicon Valley is not about tech, as lawyers are not about law. So this is about me. So this is my sales pitch a bit, or something like that. So I'm not only about the law. So when you're in the Valley, you discover that you have many talents, and you wear many hats. So I discovered that I'm not only a lawyer. So I recently did a deal for Filmaster. I'm a lawyer for Contact.io. I also work with Polish Airlines and Woolet and Swimmo. But then I started to get phone calls from people. Can you help me out? Can you help me build my business? So I became an advisor to my friend Kamila Dmowska, who's building her fashion brand. Who's speaking here. I became a manager advisor to my friend Justyna Kiselewicz, who's an artist in San Francisco, and that's how I got into this art business. I'm also an advisor to Związek Banków Polskich and Booksy. And then I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur with Marek Cieśle, and I do a lot of things with him. And I'm also an entrepreneur with Tom Snazik here in Poland, and we run a law firm here. And then I discovered in San Francisco that I'm also a good investor. I invested some cash in Platzi, which I mentioned earlier, which is an ed tech company. And I sort of met them here at Bitspiration, and a mutual friend, Alex Barrera, who introduced me, told me about this company. I watched their growth. They made $1.4 million last year in Latin America, and now they're in YC, and they're doing great business. So if a lawyer can make it in San Francisco, that means you guys who are non-technical can make it also, and there's a great future for you. So thank you for your time. That's my call to action. Like us on Facebook, and you can follow me on Twitter. And I'm going to be here, and I can also take some questions if people are not shy and are courageous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Applause. See, I'm so excited that you invested in Platzi.
Yeah.
They're really cool guys. Okay, so questions for the lawyer, not lawyer, that has many hats, even though I'm the one wearing the hat. So who wants to ask a question? Come on. Anyone that wants to go to the US? Anyone that wants to invest in art? Education technology?
Education technology.
Anything else I'm missing? He can also breakdance, I believe.
Yeah.
Come on, questions, guys. Don't be shy. It's a good opportunity to talk to someone that actually is becoming an active investor.
Okay, I promise the clock is off. I won't charge you. I'm not going to speak as a lawyer, so this is your opportunity to talk to me for free. How's that? Come on, give me a question.
Come on, someone. Really? Tomek, no questions? You have a question. There you go. Come on, applause to the brave guy here. That was a weak applause, by the way.
No, actually, this is the thing that we always talk about. What would be the tips for Polish people that are going to US? What are the five tips from Tytus for people going to US?
Tip number 1, show up. You have to go. People complain that no one sees Poland on the startup map or on the creative map. You just have to show up and wave the flag. Tip number 2, be yourself. Don't be someone else. There's many roads that lead to Silicon Valley. Keep trying. That would be 3. 4, don't be afraid. And don't be afraid of being a flop or sucking. You're never going to find out if you're successful if you don't try and if you don't go big. And I'm so tired of hearing so many complaints about oh, I want to go but I don't know. You just got to go and figure things out. And money is not the issue. It's the mentality. 90% of people have no clue where they're going in life and they don't know the roadmap. 9% they know where they want to go, but have no clue how to get there. And only 1% knows where they want to go and how to get there. So be in the 1%.
Okay, another question? Someone? I have a question for you.
Shoot.
How expensive is it for a European company to relocate or move their business or open business in the US?
I would say it's not a question of expense, because if you're thinking about like being in the US, that means you're growing. If you are cash strapped and you have a good team or you have a good idea, you have traction, there's always people willing to help you out. And that's the beauty of Silicon Valley. People really want to help you, and they don't want anything in return. But you have to respect them. You have to give something in return, give or pay forward. So like, our law firm, wants to help people out in Silicon Valley. We take equity, we take risk, but we want something in return also. So yeah, it can be expensive. San Francisco got very expensive, but I think it's worth the investment to be there. It's the epicenter. I mean, I want to be in Renaissance Florence, and hang out with Lorenzo de' Medici.
You look like Michelangelo or something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a question there.
Hi, my name is Jurek. I'm running a software house and I have a question. What is the perception of Polish coders in the West Coast, and how it's possible to start outsource to Silicon Valley?
So the question is, how do you build a software house in Silicon Valley? It's very hard to build a software house in Silicon Valley. There are so many software houses in Silicon Valley, from India, from China, from Ukraine. Everybody's there, so you really have to be present. On the other hand, there is a shortage of talent. And there's not enough coders, there's not enough devs in Silicon Valley. So there are huge opportunities, but you have to be there on the spot. You have to go to meetups. You have to be super focused. So for example, I'm working with, I can't name the dev shop, but I'm working with a dev shop that does SaaS. It does IoT support for medical and biohealth startups. So if you tailor it down to like super specific things, then you're able to catch business. It's Silicon Valley is interesting because most people think that it's like fishing, and like you throw the fishing hook, you have the bait, and someone and you wait. No, it doesn't work like that. So it's more like hunting. You have to go with your shotgun and hunt. And then you follow the little tracks, and then you have the dogs sniffing, and that's your network that's helping you out. So the bigger the network, and you need to be present as a dev shop there.
Okay, more questions? There we go.
One more.
Hi, I'm Carolina. You said, okay, just go there, yeah, have a courage. But what should be our first step to get there? Assuming I am developing my own startup and I am just developing the prototype. I don't have a funding still. I'm looking for it. So what should I do to actually to get there?
So number one, buy a ticket, right? Two, so there's two approaches to going to the valley. Approach number one is the soft approach, and then the other one is the hard approach. The soft approach is you go for feedback on your product. So you meet with people and you ask for feedback. Hey, I'm Carolina from Poland. I'm building XYZ and company. I would like to get your feedback. So that's one thing. And then you're looking for mentors. And once you get mentors, you have people who will vouch for you in the valley. It's very relationships are very important there. So you need that. Or you can do option number two, which I don't recommend, is going there directly for funding to do sales or build a company. So that's no. So first go for feedback and mentors, and then you go back, hey, I've done my homework, I've done my feedback, I fixed the problems, and then the mentors will introduce you to VCs, angels, to salespeople, and will help you out. So it's a process. So like, there's 2 or 3 steps. Step 1, go, see, then go, for funding, or, and then, build your company. Okay.
Any other questions? Just going to add a corollary to that. How long does it take between you going to get feedback and actually either raising money or setting up shop there?
Yes, excellent question. So usually it's like 3 months. So you go to the Valley for 3 weeks. You meet everybody you can. You ask your friends to make introductions, even if they don't lead anywhere. Silicon Valley is small, so everybody knows each other. Then you go back to Poland or wherever you're from, Spain. You do your homework as fast as possible, make improvements, and then you go back to the Valley and say, hey, I did my homework, I'm ready for the next steps. And you got to be proactive.
I'll add one last question,
Wow.
if no one else wants to add a question. So I've had several companies going to the Valley. Some of them, it actually takes long to raise money there. I have friends that the average is 12 to 18 months to raise Series A round there. So the question is, do you need funding first here in Europe to go there and sustain the cycle between feedback and creating that network and that connection, or you should just go directly there, try to raise the money there?
So there's 3 ways to go to the Valley. One is what you just described. So that's the Series A adventure, and it does take a lot of time, and it's freaking hard work, really hard work. And that's why there's so few companies from Europe that do a Series A in the Valley. And if they do, they're spectacular because they work hard and they have great products. Option 2 is go to an accelerator like YC, 500 startups, Techstars, Dreamit. And then there's option number 3, which I've discovered with a lot of my clients, is do a Kickstarter first. You do product market fit, you show traction, you discover your model, and then you deliver your products. And that shows that you have a good team, you have a good product, and you're ready for the big leagues. So it does take time, but it's a question of what do you want to do. And the Valley is the Renaissance Florence of today. And I was a skeptic, and now I'm a believer, and it's a spectacular place for non-technical people, even for lawyers.
Okay,
Thank
Tytus, that was very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tytus. Thank you, guys.